my good friend Amy, and we are discussing the dimensions of wellness and how we keep these dimensions in balance. Amy, thank you for being here this morning with me. Let's start with occupational wellness. And occupational wellness is how we balance our careers with our family. And first of all, would you tell us what it is that you do? When somebody asks, what do you do? What do you say?
I first say I'm a mom, and secondly, I say I'm a basketball coach.
Okay. When did you know you wanted to coach?
Probably back in high school. I love sports. I played lots of sports, and I just felt like this was something that I wanted to do. It might be a career path, and so I had some good people take me under their wing when I was in high school, and that probably started that dream.
Okay. Did you have any dreams as a younger child, what you were going to do, or do you think it was always coaching?
I think as a younger child, I just enjoyed sports, wanted to play as long as I could, at whatever level I could, and so the idea of coaching probably didn't start until high school.
I had a dream of being an Olympian, but I never could figure out what sport I was going to be an Olympian in, and so I didn't specialize early enough to make the Olympics. But let's talk about the sacrifices that one has to make, especially coaching and motherhood. When do those sacrifices start?
When you become a mom, for sure, things change. It's not just about yourself, or even, it's different with the spouse. Get home and meet your spouse, but now it's a whole new perspective because you have to take care of the family, and I think primarily that responsibility falls on the woman to make sure that the house runs smoothly. That's kind of the way God designed it, and so it definitely makes a big difference. I actually coached before I had children at a public school, and then was ready to try to look for a varsity head job, and the job that I interviewed for did not work out, and then our first child was born later that year. So it was good timing, good transition for me to be a stay-at-home mom for a little while.
So at first you were thinking before children, varsity, large 5A high school maybe?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what the goal was. And then a child came. So what shifted? Did priorities change? What changed?
Absolutely, priorities change. I went from thinking that I would be involved in coaching or basketball to some perspective. I even did some officiating, but all of a sudden I'm a stay-at-home mom, and then eventually leads into homeschooling, and eventually even leads into teaching elementary PE and things that I had never envisioned myself doing.
Now you have kind of an interesting story of how your family, God formed this family. Would you share some of that?
Yes, I have two boys. One of our children came to us out of a huge blessing. My husband and I had tried for years to have children and had trouble in that area. And when I was coaching, one of my players actually became pregnant, and she had looked at different routes. She felt like all along that she wanted to give the baby up for adoption, felt like that would be the best thing. But the birth father was not like-minded, so it was kind of a long situation. But long story short, she called us about 2 weeks before she gave birth and asked if we would be willing to adopt this little boy.
I mean, how did you answer that phone call? What a surprise.
Absolutely. Yes. We were probably crying, shaking, overjoyed, shocked, all at the same time. It was, not something that we could just respond to right away. I mean, we had to get off the phone, and my husband and I had a conversation that, believe it or not, actually wasn't that long, because we knew we wanted children, and this was just a huge blessing for this opportunity. We knew the family, we knew the girl had taken good care of herself. I obviously wanted the best for this young lady, one of my players who I loved already anyway. So we knew that there would be some difficulties and weren't sure how we were going to work that out, but the answer was yes.
And it didn't take long to answer.
It did not.
And were y'all newly married at the time?
No, we've been married 8 years.
Okay.
No, wait, I'm sorry, not that long. We've been married 6 years.
Okay. So after the answer was yes is when you started to see your priorities shift, and that led to stay-at-home mom, homeschooling, teaching PE. So you're back at it. You're back at coaching, and congratulations for a very successful season. State, I believe. Yes. So what brought you back?
I did a lot of other things when I got out of coaching. At first, I actually started a personal training business, so I got my certification to train, and I trained clients because I could do that very part-time and still, be at home with my children for the majority of the time, and just had a sitter come in when I saw clients. And I really enjoyed that. I just always had kind of that longing to get back into the game that I love, which is basketball. And I'm still around it a lot because my husband is a basketball referee. So, we're around basketball a lot. And then I think with homeschooling, part of what we did was in a co-op, and so I ran the PE program in our co-op, and I was never envisioning being an elementary PE person. Usually you're either elementary or secondary, and the other thinks that they're crazy. But just to make adjustments, I knew that would be the best fit for me to help that school at that time. So, I had a lot of opportunities to do other things that kept me involved with my children, but still kind of my foot in the door in an area that I'm very interested in, which is, of course, coaching and teaching, which go hand in hand. And then, just teaching kids how to be fit and healthy was a big part of it too. So it was just the best fit. You make sacrifices for the best fit for your family at that time of life, and those times change. But now that my children have gotten older, I just got a phone call from a private school one summer, 4 summers ago, that he had actually interviewed me years ago for a head varsity basketball coaching job. So he knew I was here and asked me if I'd be willing to come and talk to him about taking over the basketball program here at the private school. So that's where it all started.
Did you have to think about that very long, or was it a pretty quick answer?
I did have to think about that for a while, because at the time I was still homeschooling, and so my husband and I had to work through a lot of logistics, like what would be best, how would we make this work. My oldest son at that time was ready to go into 6th grade, so it was a good transition year. And so not only was the coaching an opportunity, but an opportunity for him to come to school here at the private school. So it was just a good fit for that time.
Can you give some advice? I have a lot of students, and that's what they want to do. They're studying to be a coach and a teacher. And a lot of them don't want to choose between family. They want to coach, and they also want to have a family, but they don't really know what lies ahead and the challenges. So what advice can you give to those students?
Advice is tricky because I think it's different for everybody, and everybody's got to make the decision that works best for their family. I can tell you from my perspective, I didn't want to raise a family still coaching because of the long hours. I would go to school, first thing in the morning, and then if we had game days, I might not get home until 11 or 12 o'clock at night sometimes. So I wouldn't have even gotten to see my children on those days. And again, I'm a basketball person, and that's probably the longest season. That's a good 6 months that we're involved in. And in high school, you have to coach at least 2 sports. So it wouldn't be just that 1 6 months. So, and then you have practice on days that you don't have. So it's just a big time commitment. How I have seen it work for people is, you just bring your family with you. You get your family involved. Right now, my younger son has to come up here here and comes to practice with me every day. And I've seen that work for a lot of coaches where, even if it's a baby, the baby comes to practice with them, that somehow you just incorporate the two, and the child can still be with you and see what you're doing, and it's not always easy. They don't always like it, but at least you get to be together.
Right.
So I think that's one way that you can make it fit. I think each person is going to have to decide, what am I okay with? Am I okay? Maybe they have family that can help take care of their family while they're working, or, I think that makes a big difference too. We don't have any family close by, so it's just my husband and I, or babysitters.
What about now? Now you have some long hours and some travel. So how are you managing that with kids still under your roof?
It has been tricky. I've had to rely on good friends every once in a while. I usually try to work it out the best I can. I will. My older son is now my manager, so he travels with me and keeps all my stats. My younger son, if my husband is not home, my husband's a basketball official, so he travels a lot. So when he's traveling, then it is a little bit of an issue to figure out. But possibly have him go with a friend who he goes to school with, and get homework done, and then if it's early enough that I get home, I can pick him up on the way home. Sometimes he goes with me, and every once in a while we've had to have somebody come in and just have a babysitter stay there with him.
So there's a lot of planning and a lot of flexibility.
Yeah, or you have to be organized, you have to plan ahead of time.